Back on this special edition of Open Line. Thanks for joining us. Nick Beres here with News Channel 5 legal analyst Nick Leonardo. Get used to seeing us here because beginning next week will be gavel-to-gavel coverage, justice for Joe Clyde, as the trial finally begins 3 years after the little boy disappeared, still has not been found. And so many people following this. We're going to have people watching, not just locally, across the country and even overseas. And they can watch it anywhere because we're going to be streaming it live the whole way. During all the breaks and everything, you and I will be talking, taking questions and calls. It's been a while since we've done a gavel-to-gavel trial.
Probably 18 months or so.
At least. Of course, pandemic shut everything down. Let's get back to some more phone calls, and we'll go to Ann. Ann, good evening. Hi, Ann.
Hello. I have a comment to make. I noticed that during the father's confession that he got very emotional and he started crying.
That's right.
Why would he do that if he did not kill the child?
I mean, the jury will ask the same darn question.
Exactly
He put his head down and he starts saying, why? And if I'm a juror, I'm thinking, all right, he's finally broken. That seems very genuine. Now, I don't know what his attorney will say, but on the fact that this was the way he was acting after hours of intense interrogation and he just cracked and wanted to say anything to get this over with, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and Ann raises a fine point. I mean, what is the jury going to make of that? But, you know, if all they're offering him is to plead guilty to first-degree murder, why not go ahead and have this trial?
Yeah.
Let's see the evidence that the state has against you, because your wife is going to have a leg up because it's the same evidence against her. And so by him going forward, he has nothing to lose at this point by going forward. Maybe the wife gains a tactical advantage on her trial.
Okay, and again, but I want to go back to that Bishop standard that we talked about earlier. I understand that. You see him crying. You see what appears to be a fairly convincing confession. He gave some other ones as well, and then he recanted. But against that backdrop, and his own attorney saying it was coerced, and he's going to be playing clips for the jury saying, see how they pressured him? Look how long this went on.
Sure.
Okay, there is not a shred of physical evidence to even prove the child is dead. So if I'm a juror, I'm being pulled between both of those. I agree with her. I see him crying. That seems genuine. But meanwhile, it's like no blood, no body, nothing, massive searches, nada. I mean, that's a tough call.
It is a tough call, and that's part and parcel why it's taken 3 years to get here.
Yeah.
I think the prosecution's case is still unfolding, and they're hoping that they can, you know, gather more evidence. But, you know, at the end of the day, again, like I said, you could have someone, you know, found guilty of first-degree murder solely with circumstantial evidence. And of course, if these people are calling the media, no offense, I mean, that's great that they called you, but I mean, if they're calling and working the phones like that, who knows what they've said and to whom?
Right, you're right, and we'll see what comes up. We've seen that in other cases. Let's go next to, I think we've got Janice. Hello, Janice, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi there, what's on your mind?
One, I want to know if they have found the parents mentally competent to stand trial.
Have they found them competent to stand trial? And the answer to that would be yes.
Okay, and I think I'm along the lines of agreeing. I'm for Joe Clyde, but I'm along the lines of agreeing about the bond hearing, the bond that's been set.
Yep.
I think the judicial system has failed these people. I think maybe they could have found out more if they had let them
That's
out.
a great point.
This is harsh.
That's a great point.
She is. I remember there was a point where Crystal Daniels, who I think can have the strong argument, could have asked for a bond reduction. She went and asked for it. And I'm sitting there watching it, and the judge denied it. And thinking that, well, if she got out, I'm like, let her out and follow her.
Follow her. Let's see where she goes. Let's see what she Googles. Let's see who she texts. I mean, that's what it's all about. Let's see where her cell phone pings off of which tower.
Yeah, I have no idea why they have kept her locked up on $1 million bond.
I mean, but you know, the judge and the DA are up for re-election in May, so.
The bottom line is, you may not want to admit it, but politics are involved in cases like this.
They're elected.
Absolutely. Don't think for a minute that does not play a role in this. They may say no, but politics does. A lot of people believe that, you know, they killed this child, and if they're acquitted, you know, it's not the DA's fault. He's going to do the best job he can, but that's not going to be great for him.
But look, I mean, when we had a trial in Nashville, it was a high-profile trial, and when the defendant comes to court, people are lining the streets, okay?
Yeah.
So there are, you know, a reflection of the constituency that elects them. So these people are upset in Dixon County about this.
And they want to see a conviction.
And that's exactly right. And so this, you know, this is kind of in the same vein.
But again, if there's not a conviction, it's not, the DA is going to do a fine job. The judge is going to, but appearances and what happens, you know. All right, let's go next to Susan. Good evening, Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi, good evening to you. My question may have already been asked. I don't know. I've only been on for about 20 minutes. If this woman has finally come up again about her daughter speaking to little Joe, why over the past 3 years has she not kept reiterating it and reiterating and reiterating it?
Yep, we did touch on it real quick just to answer that for you. She filed a police report with the McEwen police. They told her they were going to come out the next morning to talk, or the TBI or someone was going to get a report from her. They never showed up because after she filed the report, Joseph Daniels confessed. And the investigation went another direction. So that's why. And she figured, well, I guess there's nothing to it. I mean, what else is she supposed to do? I mean, just keep calling and badgering him? I mean, she filed a report. And they told her they'd come out, and they never did. I mean, at that point, in my mind, she's done her diligence. It's up to them to follow up.
But, you know, I mean, is it a bit odd? Like, you know, you live in a place that's kind of rural now. And so, I mean, if you saw a child in the front yard, I mean, you know, would you immediately make a report? Or if you thought the child was going home, I mean, you know, how odd is it to make a report over something like that?
Well, I guess, I think they probably were aware of the fact maybe that the child was missing or whatever. And again, keep in mind, a lot of people were saying, why didn't she run out and grab the child?
Right.
This was her daughter who saw him out there, and she wasn't even home. The daughter came in and told the grandmother, I saw this. By the time they went out, my understanding is Joe Clyde wasn't there anymore. So, and who knows? I mean, there may be nothing to that, but she's not going to be able to testify. So don't obsess on that witness.
No, she's not.
I just don't think she's going to be a part of this, but it was interesting when it came up, and she's not going to be allowed because her testimony would be, you know, secondary. It's hearsay.
She didn't see him.
Right. She didn't see him himself. Let's go next to Ella. Ella, good evening. Hi, Ella.
Hi.
Hey.
I just have a quick question. My job takes me, I don't work out of Nashville, so I heard you make the comment that you've done massive searches. Have they searched outside the county for the child?
To what degree, I'm not sure. I do know that it was a very thorough search within a 6-mile circumference radius. 6 miles from the home is what they basically searched. Now, I know that there's been talk that they may have checked some landfills, they checked some riverbeds, some other areas outside that realm, but the heavy searching was done within a 6-mile area of the home.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far out you would take it unless you had a tip.
Right.
You know, without a tip, there's only so far out you could go.
Exactly. And there may have been some tips we're not aware of that came about that way. But yeah, it's within 6 miles. So, yeah. Let's go to Joyce. Hello, Joyce. Go ahead, Joyce.
Hey, getting back to where the little girl saw the little boy, wasn't the woman that lived there, wasn't her husband on the sex, or what do you call it?
Sex offender registry? No, the rumor was, if you heard the testimony when it was discussed in court, was that this woman, one reason she reported it, because they thought there's a child, is it was her belief that in this general area, not her husband, I don't believe, but that in that general area, there are several sex offenders that live out in this rural area, is what the talk is. And I think the DA is going to bring that up, or rather the defense will, when they argue, okay, if he did wander away, well, there are individuals out here that might have been prone to grabbing a little boy. That's one of the arguments the defense may make.
And then here are those confessions.
The confessions. And so it's going to be a push me, pull me. It's going to come down to credibility. That's what makes this case fascinating to see how it'll play out in the mind of the jury.
And they don't have a body. They don't have a body.
Right. Again, can you prove he's dead?
I mean, that's the other thing. You know, when we had Janet March, you have an adult. Adults are more capable of wandering off on their own. They can drive. You know, they can get really far away from society. But, you know, an autistic child who was 5, I believe.
Well, and just go to the last Gavel to Gavel one we did, Holly Bobo.
Right.
For a long time, they did not have a body.
That's right.
And then finally, they stumbled upon bone fragments, including her skull. And that was something that played a key role in the case, if nothing else, proving definitively that she was dead. That was a huge thing. Finding the body is a big, big deal. And they don't have one in this case.
Not yet.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up with some more phone calls and comments. Justice for Joe Clyde, special edition of Open Line right after this.